Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. I'm just going to wait till we confirm that we have the Facebook live stream started. Okay. So we are live. Welcome to everybody in the Zoom workshop and joining us via our Facebook live stream. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Julia Moore, and I'm the Director of Public Art at the Arts Council. I'm managing the art program on behalf of the Arts Council's partnership with Populous, which is the architect, the Capital Improvement Board, and Pacer Sports and Entertainment. In this workshop, in case you want to know if you're in the right place, is for the Pacers Fieldhouse of the Future art program. Joining me is Kate Oberreich. She is the Artist Engagement Coordinator on our staff. Kate is the first person who'll see your application, and she'll be assisting you if she sees that you need to provide additional information. Tonight, she'll be answering questions in the chat and on the Facebook comment page, and anything we can't answer right away, we'll research and we'll make sure that we answer in a fact page posted to our website. If you need to refer to this workshop later, we'll be posting a recording to our website as well. And more information about that website will be sent out at the end of this workshop. So here's what we're talking about tonight. Lori Miser from Pacer Sports and Entertainment will talk about the Fieldhouse project in general. And then I'll talk about the stories that are going to be told through the artwork. And hopefully you'll be able to see how your work fits into one of those stories. Then I'll talk about eligibility, which is who can apply. We'll move into looking at the various opportunities, and I'll show you images of the locations where the artworks will be. We'll give you a little peek of the application form, and we'll point out a few things on the form that you need to know. And then we'll talk about what makes for good documentation of your artwork, and we'll give you some more hot tips for a successful application. We're going to have frequent question breaks. So if you can try and hold your question rather than if you put something in the chat, we'll probably get to it at one of the question breaks, but Kate will let me know if it's super urgent. And then you can also ask questions at the end of the workshop. And we'll also give you contact information if you need some more personalized help. Okay, so at this time, I'll introduce to you Lori Miser from Pacers Sports and Entertainment to give you the overview of the Fieldhouse of the Future project. Lori.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are thrilled that you are interested in participating in some public art for the Fieldhouse. And so I wanted to give you just a little bit of background on, the renovations and what we're doing. And most of you may know, but maybe not, the Fieldhouse is actually 22 years old, which is crazy because it's in amazing shape. A lot of communities are tearing down arenas, that are this age and building new. And I kind of joke that we are basically doing everything but tearing it down and starting over. This is a major renovation. It's $360 million and it's 3 phases. We're in phase 2 now, and we will wrap up phase 3 at the end of next year. And so really, the goal here is to keep the bones of what everyone loves about the Fieldhouse, but, improve it for the future. So overall, it's just going to have a more open feel, and it's going to be more flexible. People don't want to come and just, sit in a seat and watch a game anymore. They want to have areas to stand. They want to move around. They want to interact with their colleagues and counterparts. So we're going to make a lot of areas, where you can do that. So this picture on the left, shows what the bowl is going to look like once it's renovated. So it's brighter, it's a little bit more open. And then on the right, you see this plaza that we're building to the north of the building. And I'm going to talk about that just a little bit more. So you can go ahead, Julia. So I've already talked a little bit, 3 phases. We actually started our renovations on the event level, which is the ground level. So we have new and improved club spaces. We have a new star compound, and that's really the area where, when we have concerts and things, the performers come. They can stay. It's now located directly behind the stage. Before it was kind of buried in the bowels of the building. So much more user-friendly, more direct access to the stage. We have a brand new kitchen on that level that will support our concessionaire, Levy. They run all the concession stands. We are renovating all the suites in the building. And so we're making more what we're calling party suites or flex suites. So again, it's those areas where you don't just go and sit, you can stand, there's bars, there's more open seating. So it's going to be a much more relaxed atmosphere, I think, and plus, a lot more entertaining for people. New and improved concession stands throughout the building. So we're at the point where we've done every level except the balcony. The balcony will be done in the third phase. So those concession stands aren't done yet, but so that'll be next year, but everything else is brand new. This last bullet point, we have improved visibility and accessibility to the bowl from the main entrance. So this picture here is the entry pavilion. So if you've all been to the Fieldhouse, this is where you've come in before. You see all those windows there, and those look out onto that plaza. There's going to be garage doors that open. We used to have the box office right there, so there really wasn't any of that openness. So, that's a whole different look and feel. Go ahead. We are redesigning the team store. And so it's going to be what I'm calling, a lot more hip. It'll be brighter. There'll be more digital displays. And we're going to be actually be putting a mural in there. That was part of the workshop on Tuesday night. So it's going to be really interesting. This shot that you see, this picture, is an aerial view of to the north of the building and, the Fieldhouse itself, but we removed the parking garage that was right there on Maryland. And we're going to be creating an outdoor plaza that's going to encompass the space of the garage and then both spaces on either side. So that middle portion that's covered, there will be sort of a recessed area that can host basketball games. We can do yoga on the plaza. We'll have art fairs and farmers markets. There's also going to be an ice skating rink in that spot in the winter. It'll be a place for art and, a lot of other opportunities there as well. On the east and west side of that, there'll be greenery. There's going to be seating, a lot of different levels where, you can just relax, interact, enjoy the space. It'll be much more of a community space, for all of Indianapolis and all of our other guests and visitors. You can see at the very right at the top of the Fieldhouse, there's more windows. We're going to be adding a standing room only platform on the balcony next year, and that's going to overlook Georgia Street. And so again, that's going to make the whole arena brighter and more open, but also more inviting. And especially, for the younger people who want to come and hang out and talk to their friends, they can do that up there, but still watch the game. Go ahead.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Yep, that's it. Thank you, Lori. If you have any questions, you'll be seeing as we go through the workshop tonight some other spaces, and Lori's going to hang out for a while. So if you have any questions for her, please put them in the chat, and Lori will watch out for them and give you an answer. So at this point, what exactly are we looking for from the art program? First of all, we're really looking for the art to have a contemporary and fresh look and feel. Not necessarily abstract, but definitely a style that feels new and interesting when telling these stories. We are looking for artists who have a representational and narrative approach. So what we're really looking for is people who can tell stories well. And the reason for that is that these stories are really do connect to episodes and people and sports that people love. And so they have to be able to understand the story that's being told and connect to it. So having said that, we're also looking for artists who can tell stories that fans might know in a new and creative way. So a unique style, different forms, that's the kind of thing we're going to be looking for. The emotional connection is going to be really important. So people might know the story that's being told, but you're telling it in a way they hadn't thought of before. And that brings up new and good feelings. So being able to find that part of a story that helps illuminate it and get people to go, oh, wow, I hadn't thought of that. And the artwork helped me think of that. That's kind of what we're looking for. But most of all, you're also going to have to bring the Hoosier basketball spirit. And it doesn't matter if you are personally a fan, although we hope that you are, but you have to be able to connect with what basketball means here and be able to send that out in your work. Because this project is state funded, we're restricting applications to artists with a very strong Indiana connection. You don't have to live here now, but in the application, you'll be asked to talk about your Indiana connection. And so we're looking, we'll tell you about that in a little bit, but people who've lived here, raised here, been educated here, because as you'll see, a lot of the story is about high school basketball and Hoosier hysteria. So as you think about how you can best show yourself as ready to tell the stories that you're going to hear about in a minute, you should also know that we're not looking for some very specific things. So we're not going to plaster the Fieldhouse with Reggie Miller portraits. Maybe one or two, and you'll find Reggie popping up in an appropriate story, but this is not Reggie Miller's house. Everyone knows the classic photographs of iconic moments. And for one of the stories that I'm going to tell you about, that's very important. But we're also looking for more creative interpretations of those moments, just not just painting the photograph again. We already have that photograph. We're definitely looking for variety. Many different artists are all seeing things their own way. So we want to give everyone visiting the Fieldhouse something that they can connect with, and people are different in what they like and connect to. Finally, we're not looking to hire the same artists that get all the commissions, and we could just pick from a list if that's what we wanted. We want to discover artists who can tell these stories well, no matter where in Indiana they come from or who they are. All that counts here is skill and talent, and not necessarily a deep resume. So if your artwork is all about storytelling, there may very well be a place for your work in this project. So the next few slides will list the stories that we're telling through the artwork. More detail about each story is in the downloadable RFQ document from our website, and I'll give that link later. And then if you do end up getting selected and assigned to a story, you're going to get even more details about the story and the location. So the stories are, and there's several slides where we're talking about those stories. And while I'm talking about that, you can enjoy some other images of the renovated Fieldhouse. So we're talking about Indy past, present, and future. Indy's rise as the amateur sports capital of the world, the Milan Miracle, Crispus Attucks and the Dust Bowl, the Indiana Fever 2012 run, the Pacers ABA champions, the Pacers 2000 season, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, so much bigger than basketball, the moments that saved the Pacers, and then some stories where actually, if you have skills in portraiture, here's where some of that could come in. We are definitely looking to tell stories about recognizable individuals who are Hall of Famers and who are so great that their numbers have been retired. So the individuals are Mel Simon, Reggie Miller, and again, if you can do a great portrait of Reggie, this is a place for it. George McGinnis, Mel Daniels, Coach Lynn Dunn, Coach Bobby Slick Leonard, Tamika Catchings, and Roger Brown. So this is a place for you to absolutely have accurate portraiture, but the stories about these people should also be told in an engaging way through more than just having a lineup of really good portraits. And finally, we want to give all Fieldhouse visitors, no matter why they're visiting the Fieldhouse, and as we just said, the Fieldhouse is so much more than just basketball. We want to give everybody a taste of Hoosier hysteria. We're looking at 3 different perspectives of what high school basketball means to everyone, and we have some really nice big spaces to tell those stories. Basketball may have been invented in Massachusetts, but Indiana high schools made it a thing, and there are now more Hoosiers per capita in the NBA than any other state. I just learned that today, so that's pretty awesome. Okay, so who can apply? So really anyone that has that strong Indiana connection, which we'll talk about in a second, but there really is no age limit. We do welcome artists under 18, but they will have to have their parent or legal guardian sign any agreements. And if you're listening to this, and if this is going to be an issue for you, please contact us and we'll see how we can make this work for you. Also, if you're an artist, you must be legally allowed to work in the US. And we can't, again, this is a state funded project and we can't pay artists who can't legally work here. If you have any question about whether your work or visa status qualifies you, please contact us to discuss it. We are not visa experts, but we can find the resources to help. And finally, artists must have that very strong Indiana connection that I talked about. So either living here now, grew up here, if you're not living here now, educated here, or spent significant time here. So just passing through doesn't count. Your dad being from here, if you've never set foot in the state, probably doesn't count. If you're not sure, give us a call to talk it through. But ultimately, the application will ask you to explain your Indiana connection, and we're much more likely to select artists that have those very strong connections. So there are basically three types of opportunities to get involved. So for purchase and license opportunities, we're talking about artwork that already exists. You've done it, you have it, it's physical, and it's something that relates to the list of stories we just talked about. So these are scenes, montages, action photography that might be original to you, portraits. These are the kinds of things that could tell those stories, but you've already done it. You have it in hand. And this is probably the most common question that I've gotten so far. Do not create any new artwork just for the purpose of the application, okay? And the reason for that is we never, ever ask artists to create artwork for an application without being paid. I mean, we never ask artists to create artwork without being paid for it. So this is all artwork that you have in hand. The purchases are exactly that. We will just buy the artwork from you. It can be framed or unframed. And if it's not framed, we'll frame it after we buy it. So we're not asking you to spend the money up front to put a frame on it if it doesn't already have one. The purchase price that you tell us about in the application will be the price that we will offer to buy it for. If we see it and if we think it's a little high, we just won't offer to purchase it. And by the same token, we're not expecting any automatic discounts because this is a highly visible project. So the price should be your best offer that you feel is fair to you and your work. If what you're offering to sell was done with another artist, we need to know that because we need to split that fee between everybody who participated in that artwork. And so the application will ask you to designate whether it was a collaboration with another artist, and we'll ask you to name that artist. About the purchases, this is a super fast turnaround. We would make the purchase right away and we would expect to receive it in November. If we see it in your application, we'll assume that it's available. So don't apply with artworks that are already committed to other places. If it's obviously for a purchased work, if it's already sold to somebody else, we can't buy it. And if you have any timeline questions about purchases as far as delivery, call us before you apply so we can get those timeline issues worked out. A license, on the other hand, is a fee to use an image of an artwork. So we're not buying the original artwork or the physical artwork, but we will give you money to use an image of it. Licenses are really great for artworks that you might have already sold, but you still have the right to make deals for images of the artwork. It's also great for artwork that only exists right now in digital format. You have to have the rights to license the artwork to other people. And if you're not sure what that means, call us and we'll talk you through it. If you have a high resolution image of that artwork already, that's great. Don't apply with it, because it'll take up way too much space. Just tell us. There's a little checkbox for you to tell us if you already have one. If you don't have one, that's okay, and the artwork is available, we can arrange photography, or we can include a cost for you to find the photographer as part of the license fee. We'll work that out. So either answer, yes, you have an image, no, you don't have an image. Either answer is okay. We just need to know because we need to plan our budget and our photography for how much we need to do. If we decide to license the artwork, we could use the image in a number of ways in the artwork program. We'll absolutely credit you, but we might combine it with other licensed images. We might reprint it as a reproduced image on a site, and we will make it very clear that it's a reproduction and not a physical original. What we won't do if we license this image is use it to make money for the Pacers. For example, you will not see a licensed image appearing on t-shirts or posters without your very specific permission and a totally different kind of deal. So the license will only be for non-commercial uses related to the art program. So the third kind of opportunity is a new commission where we'll ask you to design an all new artwork to tell one of the stories. And we anticipate that most of the artwork is probably going to be commissioned, but we're also very open to purchases. So this commission could be a multi-artwork series of physical pieces. It could be an original artwork that we would ask you to create on a small scale, and we'll photograph it and recreate it on a larger scale. And if we do that, we probably also ask to have the smaller original as part of the deal, part of the commission agreement. There are many, many possibilities for commissions, and you'll take a look at that as we move through, and several processes and ways of making an artwork that could happen. But the main thing is, once we've negotiated a commission agreement with you, the artist has to deliver the work in whatever format we talk about within 6 months. So if you know that you take longer than 6 months to create an artwork on commission, you might think twice about applying for this because it will be a very quick timeline. It might take a little while to understand whether you're right for a particular opportunity, but we would definitely contact you before, let's say March or April, if we're interested in your work. Okay, let's take a question break. So let's answer a few questions before we start looking at the artwork locations. I do see, do you accept digital art? Yes, we do. So for the purposes of the application, you would submit a file that's probably lower resolution than you've created it at, but yes, we would. Andrea asked, if we're in the process of a new creation, can it still be submitted? I would say if we're already going to do it anyway, and you can finish it before the deadline, I would say yes, but I wouldn't go through it. I wouldn't do it just for the purpose of this application. Gurkhan says, I have 2 ideas, but one of them is a video. Can I submit a video work? Are there any video projections or LED walls? If yes, how can I submit a video? I'm going to answer that after we've gone through the sites, because that might give you a little bit more of an idea. But we do not have any LED walls, but we do have walls that might be appropriate for a video production. And then as far as how to apply, how to submit it, when you get ready, give us a call. We'll talk you through that. Okay, Christopher asks, would you accept sculptural work, relief, or freestanding? That's a really good question. We do not have any, and again, you're going to get this when you take a look at the sites. Everything that we have is wall-based, and in most locations, we are not looking for anything that projects more than a couple of inches from the wall. And usually it's probably 3 or 4 inches or less. So reliefs, yes, we would be interested in looking at that, but not freestanding. Dana asks, how does the licensing pay work? it is a flat fee, and how much that license fee would be, we haven't quite determined that yet, but it would probably be at least $500, and then we'll go from there. Shantae asks, can projects from the Swish Indie project be submitted for licensing? I would say, and Shantae, thank you for attending, and I know your piece very well. Yes, I think it could be, but knowing the pieces that you have, they don't really tell the stories in as much kind of detail as we're talking about. But yes, it is possible to be submitted for licensing. Sarah asked, any room for augmented or virtual reality works? I think that there could be, but we take a look at the sites. When we get to start talking about locations, see if any of those are a possibility. I would probably say that we would not do an augmented reality in substitution of one of the locations that we've already talked about, but maybe in addition to it. So there could be an augmented reality component on top of a physical component that people might see. Let's see. And also, Sarah asked, do we retain digital and print rights of any physical works we sell? Yes, you do. We are buying the physical work and a license to use images of that physical work, but it's non-exclusive. So you will still have the rights to that artwork to use in other ways. And Andrea asked, will commissioned artists be assigned a specific subject matter, such as a specific portrait? I would say that you would be assigned a story to tell, and maybe one of those stories would be one of those Hall of Famers or retired numbers. So yes, but I think it's the story that you would be assigned rather than give us a picture of Reggie Miller. So we'll get to that. So I think a lot of these questions, you'll know a little bit more once you start looking at the sites, which we're about to do right now. So let's take a look. So the sites are arranged on 3 levels, and let's start at the lowest level, which is the lower suites, which is the key bank level. This is a new suite area that was just constructed. It was never there in the Fieldhouse that you may be familiar with. And most pieces will be arranged along a corridor that goes past the suites and goes all the way around the bowl. So we anticipate that all of the purchased artwork, whatever artwork that we purchased, will be on this level. Although there could be an exception, but this is what we anticipate. And all artwork will be framed and hung on the wall. And I'm showing you right here a typical wall on the lower suites level. So a wall like this could have one very large artwork. It could have several artworks by the same artist who's telling that story, or it could be several artworks by different artists who are all telling different aspects of that same story. So what we've done is looking at the spaces and assigned stories to those spaces. And I hope that's clear. So this image I'm showing you gives you a really good idea of the look and feel for just all of the artwork on the suites level. Fresh, bright, it's narrative, it's good size, semi-abstract is okay as long as people are able to recognize that story. In areas where multiple artists are working, we could potentially put different artist styles next to each other, all telling different aspects of the same story. And so you're kind of seeing that here in this look and feel picture. If the story is right for portraiture, again, different artists could be included, or the same artist might be able to do portraits or images containing portraits of different people for a unified look. And action is okay. It doesn't just have to be someone's head. Here's just one example. In this particular area, we're looking to tell the story of Indianapolis's rise as the amateur sports capital of the world. That's the story assigned to this particular stretch of walls. Again, it could be done with many artworks or just a couple of really large or multi-part artworks. It could all be done by the same artist, or it could be done by different artists. So the whole area with the wrap on the perpendicular wall is available for this story. And this is what the wall looks like. Most of the walls have this color, which is a very kind of a neutral gray, and it can accommodate a wide variety of color schemes in the artwork. So don't worry about matching it. Just do your work the way you do it. And if we end up selecting your artwork for an area, especially for commissions, you'll get photos of it and full dimensions to work from. Here's another example of what an opportunity could look like. This is just a little part of the area that's designated for the story of Crispus Attucks and the Dust Bowl. And there's another long wall that's associated with that story too. So it's not just tiny pictures. So you can see in this particular area, the artworks that would be either purchased or commissioned would be probably pretty small. But there's a longer wall for someone who can tell a more kind of expansive version of the story. And again, it could be one artist or several artists providing the artwork for this story. Here's another typical view. This is just part one of the walls that's designated for the Indiana Fever 2012 season story. So I hope you're getting an idea of what it looks like. The ceilings are not super high, the corridor is not super wide, but it's comfortable and it's really good for viewing artwork. So most of these stories on the lower suites level could be done by multiple artists. But there are two areas on this level that we are definitely going to be using a single artist to tell that story, either through one large artwork or a series of smaller artworks. So this is the first one. This is the elevator lobby on this level, the public elevator lobby. So if you get off the elevator, you'd be facing this wall. And it could be one giant artwork or several smaller artworks. And it's unlikely that someone has already an artwork or artworks that tell this story. So it's probably much more likely that it's going to be a commission. And here's a possible approach. Again, we're not saying that we are asking for this. This, the kind of idea is that it's a montage of different potential images. This one happens to be mosaic tile, but that's not necessarily what we're looking for. But we are open to any art medium that's fairly shallow, safe for the public because people are probably going to touch it, and that can be hung on the wall rather than being kind of integrated into it. We are not looking for anything that sticks out a lot because the halls are kind of narrow. And then there are also ADA requirements about how far things can stick out from the wall at different levels. This is another opportunity on the lower suites level for a single artist story. So this is one way to tell the Hall of Famers and retired numbers story. And this is a good portraiture opportunity. And again, we're looking for a singular style and a feel for this. And so here's, again, one potential approach that an artist has done. So what to take away from this is that all of the artwork for this particular story, the Hall of Famers and Retired Numbers, is to be very similar in feel, all the same size, and done by the same artist for a unified look. Okay, next level. So that we've just talked about the lower suites level. So on the main concourse, all of the various opportunities are meant to be executed by a single artist. So this is not a situation where we'd purchase work from a number of artists and put them next to each other. Every space you'll see will be assigned to one artist. Because of the nature of the stories, and we'll talk about those in a second, it's going to be unlikely that an original artwork already exists because the spaces are really large and the stories are so very specific. They're also in a really public space. So we might end up, this might be a situation where we'd commission an artist to do it on a smaller scale, and then we'd use photography and a production process to get it recreated in a larger, a different medium. And this is in case they get damaged. They're very, very public. There's, you know, wiring and plumbing and everything that could go wrong. You know, we might not want to take that chance in case the worst thing happens and the wall falls down or something. We'd be able to easily recreate that artwork. And if we do commission it, we would take care of all of the production details, obviously working with the artist, but that would be something. So the artist would have a design only contract, and we would take care of production. So for these locations, you'll see images in the lower left of the slide. That is kind of a look and feel image. So don't think about the style. We are not saying you must have a style that looks like this, but think about whether your artwork can tell a story in a similar way. So let's start with this one. This is the space, we're on the main concourse, and this is the main elevator lobby. And the story that's being told here is the Hoosier hysteria story, which is this is what basketball is like in Indiana. The next location, so we're just marching along the bowl around the, marching in the corridor around the bowl. This is a really wide corridor. So this is a really long space on the upper level of the main walking area between doors. We're looking for sort of interpretive action composites of those Hall of Famers that I listed off earlier. So as you can tell, it's high. That is a brick wall, which will stay a brick wall, but just adding the artwork to that sort of upper area of that very high wall. And these are very high ceilings. This location, which is by the restrooms, is meant to tell the story of everything that goes on at Bankers Life Fieldhouse that isn't basketball. So concerts, stage shows, ice shows, gatherings, all of that kind of stuff. These are two locations, and they're in two separate pictures, but they're actually kind of right next to each other. And we're looking for consistency for both of these locations to be done by the same artist. And anytime, as we're looking at these images, you see a white square on the brick, that's an existing hand-painted artwork that will stay in that location. So this is another opportunity that's a little farther along as you're walking around, and those numbers that you see, those mark entry doors into the seating in the bowl. So these are the moments, this particular story, iconic moments. These are the moments that everyone remembers about the Pacers. It could be from any point in their history, and it could illustrate any player or event. Obviously, there's a handful that people are very familiar with, but this could be a way to tell stories that maybe people aren't so familiar with, but to think about, yeah, you know what, that's a really cool story. It's a really cool incident, or that was a really great game that maybe doesn't get enough attention. So and it could illustrate any player, any event, any era. So as indicated, these are two adjacent spaces, again, where the same artist will be commissioned for both locations. And these are, Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, but these are small concession areas. Is that what these are? She may be muted. All right, well, I'll move on. So similar to the story that we saw on the southeast side, this is a very similar space, kind of that upper story area. And it's going to be telling another aspect of that same story, those Hall of Famers and retired numbers. It could be done by the same artist as on the southeast side, but it doesn't have to be. And then similar to what we already saw on the southeast restrooms, these are the southwest restrooms, again, telling the same story of Bankers Life Fieldhouse, so much bigger than basketball. And really what I like about these areas is that if they're restrooms like that, or areas where people are going to be kind of hanging out with either voluntarily or involuntarily, these are places where there could be a lot of really cool detail that every time people come back, they'll find something new to see in those artworks. Okay, well, we've just successfully gone around the main concourse. And we'll talk about, there's one more on the main concourse, which is the Team Store mural, but I'll wind up with that one. So the third level, which is the highest level, is the balcony level. And again, just like the main concourse, each of these opportunities is designed to be created by a single artist. But this is an area where it's possible that we might do a compilation of licensed images in some of the areas. So again, those would be done by a third-party vendor, created by potentially by a commissioned artist's original work. So just like the other two levels, there is an elevator lobby, and this is again another space that's above the elevator lobby. And this is about Hoosier Hysteria, the fans. So this is the way to talk about basketball from the fan perspective and expressing what fans really love about basketball. So it could be action, it could be words, it could be any style. I mean, the look and feel is potentially cartoon, but we're not necessarily saying we want a cartoon-like image, but we are open to that kind of a thing potentially anywhere. We have another opportunity to do that. This is a space that is right on visitor level, so the visitors can get up super close to it. And it could have a lot of really awesome detail in it for viewers to just get lost in. And again, the more often they come back, the more things they could find in that. This is an interesting space. It kind of wraps another smaller elevator, and this could be a compilation of licensed images for many artists. But one of the things that I was thinking would be really cool is that if an artist wanted to do a community engaged project to source images from fans. I mean, every parent has high school basketball images all across the state. This could be a really cool way to just have not only the fans participate in the game, but participate in a way to create the artwork as well. And as you can see, it kind of wraps, there's two sort of perpendicular faces in this location. And you can wrap images around. It's really cool. It can be seen from multiple angles. You see it when you're coming up from the stairs. It's an awesome, I love that space. It seems kind of quirky, but I love those quirky spaces. We also have an opportunity to tell the fans' story above one of the concession stands. And so again, if you've gone to the Fieldhouse, you have the experience of standing online waiting for your food. So you'll kind of be staring at this image for potentially a while. So again, it's another one of those things where that can reward either sustained viewing or repeated viewing. And the same thing, we have a concession stand on the other side. It's a different story. This one is just all about high school basketball. But again, it's another way to just tell that Hoosier hysteria from the high school perspective. It doesn't have to be the same artist as the other concession stand, but again, we're totally open to the same artist using a similar style to tell these two different stories. Okay, so that's everything. We've gone through the lower suites level, the main concourse, and the balcony level. We did a whole other workshop on Monday night about the team store. So I suggest that you check out our website or our Facebook page for that recording of that workshop. It was pretty short. It was less than an hour. And there's a lot of detail about look and feel and sizes and budget for that. So I suggest you do that. But I'm going to take a minute to just go over just a couple of quick highlights about the team store opportunity. So this is the only artwork that we know is definitely going to be painted on site. So it's an original image, no reproductions, hand painted, and it's on the upper level of the renovated team store. So this is the level that's accessible from the main concourse. It's about 138 square feet, measuring about 6 foot high by 23 foot wide. It's located above a set of lockers it's in the store, and it's next to a video screen that you can see. So this area that I'm showing you in peach is the site, and then this blue is the video screen. And as you can see, it is going to be painted on bare, unpainted brick. So that's going to be really cool. It's a really cool opportunity to use the brick as a design element as well. And it can be used in any media. It could be aerosol, it could be painted, brush painted, and we're really interested to see what people who might be interested in this particular thing. So the design should be in a graffiti or street art aesthetic, and that is absolutely what we want in there. And you heard Lori talking about sort of the fun, cool, hip mood for the team store, and that's what we're going for in this mural. No player portraits, no player numbers, and no Indianapolis locations shown. This is just sort of the basketball in its purest form, just the energy and joy of basketball. So if you're interested, there is a separate application form for this opportunity. You're not going to be able to do it on the application form I'm going to be talking about. So check our website for the link. This is actually the first deadline, which is September 26th, and that's coming up really fast. So check out the recording of Monday's workshop, and then if you have any questions, just give us a call. Okay, that was a whole lot. We're going to take another question break. So if there's any questions that I can answer about sites and locations, you can put them in the chat and I'll pick them up. Or if you want to unmute and ask them, that's fine too. So let's take a moment. So the question about video projections. So you probably saw that there were a lot of those top of the wall type spaces that could potentially be a video projection. So that's, if you're interested in that, we can talk about that in detail if you give me a call. Okay, we have a question. Access to previous photos of concerts. Those are out there. You know, I know that there's we could probably get you something, some kind of resource material, but there's just so much out there for the artist to work from. It's just as easy for you guys to sort that yourself. And photos of the games to use for Photoshop works, that might be tricky because a lot of those photos are copyrighted by the photographer. So we probably would not be able to get those to you. But if you're interested and if that's the kind of thing that you want to do, I'll have to talk about the rights to that, because then it starts to get really sticky with the people that already own a copyright to it. Okay, and I do see that Gurkhan noticed all those upper stories that could be good for videos. Okay, any other questions? Anyone want to unmute and ask? Thank you, Kate. Kate just put in the chat the workshop recording. So that's on the Facebook page, but we also have it on our RFQ website as well. Okay. Yeah.
What's the criteria for being chosen? I guess for the story that you get, like what's the
I think it'll probably be I think it'll be a match of your style with the nature of the story.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So some stories probably are asking for a particular style, and other stories are probably going to do a lot better with a different style. So yeah. So we just want you to be yourself in the application form. Oops. Okay. Can iconic moments be indirectly related to the Pacers? I don't know. That is something for Pacer Sports and Entertainment to talk about. There is a spot, and I'll show you in a second because we're going to start walking through the application form. There is a spot for you to, you know, make some suggestions, talk about stuff, talk about your ideas. And so that's a question to kind of ask in that. Any possibility for the works up high to be a mural painted on site? It is possible, but it just all depends on what it is and how easy it might be to recreate if something happened to that wall or that location. Okay, Shantae's question. Does the artist get a say in what story they might want to portray for a commission? I would say if you are interested in a particular story, put that on your application, and I'll show you on the application because we're going to kind of walk through that. And I'll show you where you put that on the application. So yeah, you can say, hey, I'm interested in this story or that story. Can you use artwork completed for the 2021 NCAA Billboard contest? If I would say, because I would have to see it, but if it tells the story and you own the copyright to it and you're not prevented from using it again in another context, I would say yes, you could. Other questions before we move on? Okay, so let's take a look at the actual application form and how you're actually going to be applying for these opportunities. For all of the opportunities I'm talking about tonight, except for the team store, there's just a single form for everything. And I'll show you how you can designate what artwork you're interested in us considering for, excuse me, a particular opportunity. We absolutely very strongly recommend that you look at the full RFQ document that's on our website. So there's links that you can click and it will just open it up in a new window. And there's also a link from the online application form. There is so much useful information in it, like details about the stories that can kind of help give you ideas. And it does involve reading, but it's all right there. So as far as the application form itself, you can fill it out from any device, even from your phone. You can even start it on one device, save your work, and then finish it on another device. But this is something that we've learned about the peculiarities of the software that we're using to manage that application. If you try to upload a few things because you have them on your phone and then you save it and then you want to do the rest of it from like maybe your desktop computer because you have different images on there, any uploads that you made before you saved it are going to disappear. It does not save uploads on unfinished applications. So my advice to you is make sure that they're all in the same place before you add them, and don't add them until right before you're ready to just click that submit button. And if you need, you might have to email images from your phone to your other device or to your email so that you can pick them up on another device. We have all kinds of tricks to help you with that, but the idea is that, don't upload until you're ready to click submit. Also, you have a maximum of 25 megabytes and 10 images on this form. So it's going to take a little bit of strategy to figure out what are your best images based on what your goals are for this, and how to do it so that you don't exceed your upload limit, because your application will just absolutely puke if you exceed that limit. So you can ask a friend or you can set an appointment to run some images by us, and then we can give you some advice if it's a choice between this set, that set. But the other thing that you can do is that if you say, okay, so here are my images that I want to submit for a purchase, but I have a whole other set of images to show you that aren't available, but this shows the kind of work that I'd like to be commissioned to do. You can do 2 applications, and that's okay. Just make sure you click the right boxes. And so we'll go through it and we'll show you what boxes to click. Okay, so here's what the first page of the application form looks like. Note that there is a link to the full information, which you should absolutely read, as I just said. And there's reminders of the deadlines right there too. Any field that you see that's shaded in red is required, and the application will not let you move on to the next page until you put something in there. Likewise, any multiple choice question that you see that has a little asterisk by it is also required. And again, you have to pick one of the choices in order to move on. We're going to ask you about your career and about your artwork. You'll have the choice, and these are required fields. You can have the choice of just starting to type in that field, or you can copy and paste information from another document, or you can even attach a document with that information, your bio, your artist statement, description of you. If you have it in another document, you can attach it. Every question that you see has a little line at the under the field or the little choices with some instructions, and you can always give us a call if you get stuck. If you want us to be on the phone with you as you walk through your application, we can do that. We work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and please allow plenty of time before the deadline, at least a week, preferably 2. As it gets closer and closer to the deadline, we're going to get busier and busier processing other artists' applications. Figuring out your opportunity and clicking the right box for those opportunities is really important. So, because depending on which option or options you choose, and you can choose all of them if you want to, you're going to get different sets of questions popping up as you move through the form. So if you're using the same set of images to apply for all of the opportunities, great, that's easy. But if you're using different sets of images for each opportunity, you're likely to exceed that 25 megabyte upload limit and that 10 images. So to make it easy on yourself, this is exactly the situation that we recommend that you do separate application forms for the different opportunities, and we'll sort it out on our end. Because of all this legal stuff, copyright and, fee sharing and all of that kind of stuff, we need to know if you have partners for any of these artworks. So if you click no here, then you're not going to get any more chances to name partners. But if any of the things that you're intending to upload were collaborations, absolutely click yes, and then you'll get little boxes that will pop up and say, was this done with a collaborator? Tell us their name, because we might have to contact them and let them know that you're doing this. You can put your website on the application and we'll take a look at it, but we're not going to look at your website in lieu of anything else. Because there are the purchases and licenses, you do have to add specific artworks. Websites are good. If you have an Instagram account that's dedicated just to your artwork, like no personal pictures on it, you can also put that in. Same thing if you have a blog site like a Tumblr site that's just for your artwork, you can use that. But please do not put your personal Instagram on there. You might have some artwork on there, you might have some personal stuff, you might have your pet. That's not the kind of thing, that's not helpful to us. And it has to, because we really want to focus on the pictures of your artwork. And make sure that if it is a social media site, that you have it set to public so that we can see it. So for each upload, so it's going to ask you to upload images and just click on, choose file, and then it'll pop up an opportunity for you to choose it from whatever device you're on. You have to tell us what you want us to consider it for. You have to pick something. It can be all of them. It can be purchase, it can be license, or it can be an example of your work or style. Any combinations, different additional questions might pop up depending on which one you choose, but you can pick any combination and we'll look at it for each one of the ones that you choose. So if it's a purchase, and this is an example of some of the questions that will pop up if you click purchase, we need to know the title, we need to know the selling price, and we need to know whether it's going to come framed or unframed. And this helps us figure out what else we might need to do with the artwork. But you're not going to get this unless you click purchase. So just FYI. And again, you can check more than one. So for licenses, you click license where it says, what is this artwork? It says, is this artwork example suggested for? Click license. And then you're going to get a question that asks you, do you have a high resolution image of this artwork that you can provide? And then you can click yes or no. Either of them are okay. And what we mean by high resolution is on the form, which is greater than 300 DPI and greater than 10% scale. You do not have to attach that high resolution image to the form. We just need to know it exists. And actually, you're going to use up all your 25 megabytes if you do. But we just need to know, we just need to figure this out, and, you know, it helps us with our budget and helps us figure out how we're going to arrange the program. If we don't have to schedule photography, that might be an advantage, but it's no big deal if we do. If you really want the piece, we'll pay to photograph it. For commissions, all we need is the image, no other information. All you do is click as an example of my work or style, and then upload the file. And then it'll ask you after each one of these, do you want to attach more examples of your artwork? And it's just yes or no. One of the things that you can do, and this might save you time if you have the capacity, in that first upload blank, you can put everything in one PDF document that's 25 megabytes or less. You can say, here are the images that I have for purchase. Here are the images that I want to license. And here are other images that tell you about my style. It can all be in one big document. You attach it and then boom, done. And here's what I talked about. So in response to your question, Shantae, about do you get a choice as to what stories you'd like to, you might like to work with? This is your free space. You can tell us anything. You have lots and lots of characters. I think it's something like 5,000 characters, which is really a lot. Tell us anything you'd like. Anything about your artwork that you didn't tell us before, anything about the individual pieces, anything, you know, even which stories that you'd like to be considered for. This is anything else that you want to say. It's optional. So if you don't put anything in there, it's not going to hurt you. And it's not going to keep you from moving on if you don't put anything. Oh, it's 10,000 characters. Yeah, I thought it was 5. Yeah, 10,000. That's a ton. Okay. So after you're done with all of your texts, all of your figuring out which opportunities you want, all of your purchases and licenses and all your uploads, you're going to get a bunch of questions that ask about you. So gender, ethnicity, age, etc. All of them are optional. You can give us as much or as little information as you like. So our purpose in asking these questions is to learn how well we're doing at reaching a wide variety of artists, and to make sure that we are reflecting the demographics of our city and state when we select the artists that we work with. So will it hurt you if you skip one or more or even all of them? No, it will not hurt you if you skip it. Will it help you if you answer them? Possibly. It could make the difference between maybe and maybe yes. Would answering them ever hurt your chances? No, it is not likely that there is no wrong answer, and it will not hurt your chances if any particular answer will not hurt your chances. So we do appreciate your giving us this information, but just so you know, we might release this information to the public about the applicant pool as a group, and then about the artists that we're working with as a group. We will never release personally identifiable information to the general public. And the reason why we would release this information, this aggregate information, is for the purposes of transparency. And that is to ensure accountability on our equity commitments. So answering the questions helps help us be complete in how we're reporting out to the community. Okay. And so finally, when you're done, click the submit button on the lower right corner. You'd be so surprised how many people just neglect doing that, especially when it's right up against the deadline and you just want to get it done because it's 10 minutes to midnight and you want to make sure that you're in there. You'll know that you did it right because you're going to get a screen pop up saying that your application was successfully submitted. Woo! And then you'll also get an immediate confirmation, email confirmation of your application. If you only get one of those or you don't get either of them, and they will come right away, there's not going to be a lag, contact us immediately because that means something went wrong. Okay, question break. So any questions about the application form and what you have to do to apply? And remember, you can call us at any point if the form's not behaving, because sometimes it doesn't behave. Okay, I do see there's something in the chat. If you have a concept idea for what you want to create, could you submit a sketch? I do not recommend it because first of all, we talked a little bit about, we don't ask artists, and I know you're volunteering, we didn't ask you to do that, but we don't want anyone to do any design work or any concept work without being paid to do it. So I would not recommend it. The easier thing to do is to use that little box at the end to just describe it. And you can say, hey, I'm really intrigued by this story, and here's how I would handle it. And that's usually sufficient to give us an idea and go, well, we're looking at Kevin's style. We've got his idea right here about what he might do. Let's investigate it. So, but do not do any sketch work. Do not do any uploads. Do not create a piece so that on the off chance that we purchase it, don't do any of that. That is way too much work for this process. That answers your question. Any other questions? You can put them in the chat. You can unmute and ask. Okay. Well, hearing none, I'm going to move on. So now this is the last part of the workshop. So what we're going to do now is talk about the best way to document your artwork. And there's lots and lots of pictures in this. I've been looking at artist applications for decades, and I can say definitively at this point that the best predictor of getting selected for a project is really good images of your artwork. And not just a good selection of artwork and the right selection of artwork that really shows what you can do, but the images themselves have to be of really excellent quality. Of course, good photos of not so great work isn't really going to help you, but bad photos of excellent work will definitely hurt you. I have seen that happen. So there are some good practices when showing pictures of your artwork and some common pitfalls. So let's dive into those so you have a really good direction for your own application. So let's start by talking about what is a good image. So a good image gives us really accurate information about the artwork. It tells us the scale of the artwork. If it's framed and offered as a purchase, it shows us the frame. We are looking for even lighting with no shadows. The color is accurate. The entire piece is in focus. You would be amazed how many out of focus pieces we get. That just is not helpful to us to understand what the artwork is. We like a very tight crop, but we understand that you may not be able to do that based on the setting where the artwork is and when you're taking it. So if you have to take it in a different setting, make sure the background is neutral. So this artwork that you're seeing on the screen here, I would consider this a perfectly satisfactory documentation image if I received it from an artist. Something like this, we can't use it as a licensed image as is, but to let us know what your work is like or to give us an idea of what you're offering for purchase, it's really great. We also prefer frontal views because it limits the distortion of the image and it shows all of the artwork. You can show details, so this is a detail of a larger picture, but somewhere in what you're sending us should be an image of the entire artwork so that we can tell where that detail is coming from. This is something that is a little difficult to say because every artist does it differently, but the best choices of images show the artist's particular style. So what makes your artwork unique to you? And it also shows the style that you intend to use for this project. So if you're looking for a commission and you've checked that, you know, as an example of my work or style, whatever you send should be a good idea of what we can expect when we commission you. And it's okay. I know most artists work in different styles depending on the situation. give us examples of all of them, because there might be one that we like more than another. And we would let you know. So if we select you, we say, based on this image, we really love the style of this image. And what do you think about using it to talk about this story? That's kind of a communication that you would get from us. If texture is really important to understanding your work, be sure to include slides that show us a good idea of texture. And again, just like with the detail, they should always be accompanied by a photo of the full artwork so we can tell where the areas of texture are within the composition. So this is an example. This is a really good photograph of texture. You can tell the thickness of every single layer of paint. You can see which layers are on top of what. You can see the, within these black areas that they've been kind of scratched through and brushed through. The lighting of this has been done at a slightly raking angle to really bring out those shadows. It's beautiful. This is just, I know I get a little crazy when I talk about good photos of artwork. This is a really good photo that shows texture. There are some no-nos as well. Don't show us any characters unless they're yours. We are not going to work with artists whose work is all about things like foul language, poop imagery, sex, nudes. We know you can do other things, so just leave out those images. If that's all you do, maybe you should be thinking about whether this is the project for you. Also, we like to see recent work, typically from the last 5 years. So don't show us old work in styles that you don't work in anymore, or if it doesn't represent what you might do for this project. Okay, now we're going to have some fun. So I'm going to show you a few images, and then you tell me, and you can do it in the chat, or you can unmute and just pop up with it. You tell me what you think is wrong about them. And so looking at this first image, if this was an image that I received, what am I likely to be thinking if it's provided by an artist who wants to be considered for this project? What's not ideal about it?
Is it that it's too much work at once, and most of the work in the back, like the farthest in the hallway, is like hard to see?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those are like exactly the things. So yeah, I don't know exactly which one of these pieces is your artwork. I don't even know if they're all by the same artist. Plus, yeah, I can't see the ones at the very far side. Anything else? Any other? Let's take a
It's
look
not
at chat.
frontal.
Not frontal, absolutely. No focal points. Too many. Lightning. I don't know what Andrea, what does lightning mean?
Typo, it's lighting. The lighting is a little
Oh,
uneven.
lighting. Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, the lighting isn't ideal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, these are all things that I thought of. And the funny angle, that is like a weird kind of, it's making me dizzy just to look at it. So again, all of those things that you said are exactly the things that go through my mind when I'm looking at something like this. So I can't see anything about any of the artworks except for the two that are the closest to me. And if neither of those are yours, then, I just don't know where I'm supposed to look. And one of them is completely cut off. I can't even see the whole thing. So let's limit images to one artwork, frontal view. Okay, that's fun. Let's do the next one. So here's number 2. What is wrong with this one? And again, you can unmute and pop up, or you can put it in the chat. This one's not quite so obvious.
It's the stuff in the front. It's like it looks nice as like a image, but if you're trying to send it as like an art piece, it kind of is in the way of the art piece itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And really, this is whatever, everyone is saying, that the distractions around the painting, items blocking the picture, the added elements. Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what is wrong with this one. It's a beautiful setup. And if you're taking pictures for like a shelter magazine or something, it's lovely, but it's not very informative about the artwork. The stuff could be useful for understanding the scale of the artwork, but it's really distracting. It's all about the stuff and about the setup and not about the artwork. Part of the image is blocked. It's better, just clear off the sideboard before you take the picture. because really we want to see about the art, but not, and really not so much about where you've placed it and how beautiful your decorating taste is. Okay, number 3, what could be better about this image? And again, you can unmute or you can just pop up in chat.
The lighting seems to be uneven.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's look in other lighting, and there's an angle. Yeah. Anything else? It's not straight on. Yeah, that's an angle thing. But there's a very particular way that it's not squared off. Yeah. So this is one of those situations. And if you've ever taken pictures of your artwork and you've looked at it and go, dang, how did I do that? This is really easy. Make sure that your camera is absolutely parallel to the artwork. An image like this means that your camera is tilted, and that it's not, and that it's catching the artwork at a different angle and making it look funny. So it's wider at the top, narrow on the bottom. That is the sure sign of the camera not being parallel, and it's very distorted. Someone brought up lighting. Yes, this is not very advantageous lighting. And there's something called white balance that you can use. There's like a little card, and there's even an indicator inside your phone that makes sure the whites are white and not gray. If those whites are gray and if the white isn't balanced right, all the other colors are going to be off too. Someone talked about overall lighting. Yeah, it's lit from the top going down, and it gives you the shadow at the bottom, gives you the wrong impression of exactly how big the artwork is. So this is all about lighting your artwork to advantage, placing your camera carefully, and we're going to give you resources for taking your own photos. I'm going to give it in, in a couple of slides. We have some links for you, but we'll also put those on the website separately. Okay, number 4. What about this one? What could be better? And how could this be a much better shot?
They should have took the photo straight on.
Mm-hmm. Taking it straight on, that would have definitely improved it. Not the full image, that is true. I'm only seeing part of what the image is. Not squared off. Oh, that's the other one. Yeah. I mean, that face is really distorted. So that's a sure sign that you're taking it at that very, very extreme angle. And it really doesn't give a good idea of what the artwork is actually like. Close-ups are great, but make them front on, and only if you also have a good photo of the entire artwork to compare it to. Okay, this is the last one. What about this one? And this is really typical of a lot of artworks that I get, a lot of images of artwork that that get sent in applications. Any thoughts?
It's the 2 people that took a picture with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cool for like a picture and all, but I guess for the artwork that y'all want to look at, y'all just want the artwork and no people.
Yeah, you do. That's exactly it. There's people in there. And again, this is great for social media. It's great for a news article, but when you're applying to a show, it's not the best. And Kevin also popped up with the idea of the angle and the lighting. It's not as bad as others that we've seen, but yeah, those two. And then the other thing is you could see the little red dot there. I mean, so these 2 people look very, very proud that this piece has sold, and that's usually what a red dot means, is that the piece has sold. It's very nice, but you know what? That's not information that I need to know. Like people have said, the people are distracting, the angle isn't frontal, the lighting is a bit off. When you photograph your artwork in a gallery, and that's okay, you'll usually have to have some supplemental lighting, and then you'll have to do it in a thing. Don't use these sort of casual photographs for your application. You're going to need something that you're taking a little bit of time on. Okay, that was fun, wasn't it? So here's some resources, and we'll put these on our website also. We have a vendor list on the Arts Council website of local people who do great photography of artwork, and it's surprisingly inexpensive. These are professionals. And we're always looking for more. So if you know someone that might want to be added to our list, let us know and we'll contact them and ask if they want to be added. And if you're doing your own photography, which is okay, you can do your own photography, but here are some how-to websites that are going to be really, really helpful. So there's one that's talking about, okay, these are all the mistakes that you're going to make. So here's how to avoid them, and some things about photographing like a pro. And the last one is smartphone tips. You don't need a ridiculously expensive camera to take good photographs of your artwork. The smartphones are amazingly sensitive, and they're really, you can do it, but there's a few things. It's really easy with a smartphone to get the angle wrong. So just make sure there's things you can do. I mean, so one of the things that they're going to say is use a tripod. Don't just hold it in your hand. Take a little, steady it on something. And if you and look at it from the side so that you know that the camera is parallel to your artwork so that you don't get that distortion. So those are like simple tips, but really, really good ones. And so finally, here are my last hot tips. If you're not sure if an artwork that you have that you're offering for purchase is going to fit the space, call us. We'll help you figure it out. But I can tell you that those spaces are pretty flexible. Anything that I would say that is 4 feet or under in height is going to be okay. And as you can see on those lower suites levels, there's all kinds of room width-wise. But if it's a really tall piece, that probably won't fit. If you're looking for a commission, or really, you don't have to send basketball images if you don't have them. We're more interested in just knowing your signature style and how it could be applied to tell that story. We don't need to know that you know how to draw around basketball. That's okay. We can assume if you're a good artist, you probably could. And finally, call us if you have any questions or need help. That's what we're here for. Don't cut it too close. If we have more time, we have more time to talk to you. So make it at least a week before the deadline, preferably 2. And apply on time. This is another thing that people do all the time, is they just cut it so close. So here are the deadlines. October 10th is for purchases and licenses. October 31st is for commissions. If you're using the same images to apply for everything, use the earliest deadline. So apply by October 10th. If all you're doing is showing us examples of your work for commissions, there's no purchases, no licenses, that October 31st deadline is fine. And if you're interested in the Team Store mural, check out our other workshop. It's on our website, and Kate put a link to the Facebook recording on the in the chat, so you can do that. So that deadline is September 26th, which is just in a week or so here. You can see our contact information on the slide. Don't hesitate to call. If you go to the website, which is indiearts.org/fieldhouse. I don't know if I put that on there, but it's indiearts.org/fieldhouse, and Kate will put it in the chat. There's a little floating blue button that says schedule me or something like that. If you click on it, you are looking directly at my calendar and all my availability. Do not hesitate to put yourself on there and schedule a conversation. If you do that, these are 30-minute slots. I can absolutely guarantee that I will be able to talk to you. If you just call me out of the blue, I may be on my way somewhere or something. Making an appointment, best way to talk to me. And that was it. And I know it was kind of long. How long was that? It was almost an hour and a half. But are there any other final questions? Because this is your opportunity, and I'm going to stop sharing so you can see my face, and let me know what other questions do you have? Okay. Is it okay to crop the photo to only show the image of the art and just list the dimensions? Yes, that's okay. It does. To crop the photo to crop the frame out. Is that what you're asking? Kevin?
No, not necessarily to crop the frame out, but just if the image is just the painting. I have several that aren't framed.
Yeah,
And I have photos of
that's
just
okay.
the image. Okay.
Absolutely, that's fine. If what you're showing is right to the edge of the image, that's okay. Yep, that's fine.
What if
Okay.
you're currently working on something that's kind of like I would say like maybe an upgrade or like an advancement of a current style that you've been working in for a while? Is that still like, okay, like not saying that you're making a piece specifically for this project, but it's just a piece you happen to currently be working on. Can you
Yeah.
use that as a?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Unfinished work is usually not a good idea. So wait until you finish it. I mean, finish it and then photograph it. It's really hard for us to tell what an artwork looks like and what you're intending it to look like if you submit it when it's unfinished.
Got it. Okay.
Other questions or thoughts about this? Okay, well, if you think of anything, you have Kate's and my contact information. You can use the schedule button. You can review this workshop at any point. We'll probably have it on the website possibly by the end of the day tomorrow, more likely on Monday. And we'll be able to go from there. Other thoughts, questions? Okay, well, I'm looking forward to seeing your applications. Be sure to tell your friends to check out the workshop, the recorded workshop, if they're interested. And just if you're interested in the Team Storm mural, September 26th, purchases and licenses, October 10th, commissions, October 31st, and you can do multiple applications with different images if you want to. So, all right, thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.